Okay, so picture this. It is 15,000 years ago. You're a hunter-gatherer somewhere out in Eurasia. Your entire daily routine basically consists of waking up, trying not to die, scavenging for some food, and then, trying not to die again before you finally go to sleep. So one night, you're sitting around your prehistoric campfire in the pitch black and you hear a rustle just beyond the light. You freeze. A pair of yellow eyes blinks at you from the shadows. Now, obviously, most animals in this scenario would either run away immediately or try to eat your face. But this one, it doesn't. It just sits there, watching you. And something about it makes you put your spear down. That single tense moment is probably where the entire story of man's best friend actually begins. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack the completely bizarre, totally accidental, and honestly kind of hilarious origin story of how ancient humans created dogs. It brings up a really fascinating question right off the bat, doesn't it? Did we humans actually invent dogs? We kind of have to challenge our basic assumptions here, because biologically speaking, dogs are just a domesticated subspecies of the gray wolf. Every single one of them, from the most intimidating German Shepherd to the embarrassingly tiny Chihuahua. So how on earth did a terrifying apex predator supposedly become a creature that sleeps on your pillow and literally cries when you leave the room for 30 seconds? Well, let's dive into this, because I promise you, it absolutely did not happen the way most people think it did. All right. Section 1. The prehistoric campfire myth. Look, we really need to dismantle this major misconception we have about our evolutionary timeline. That whole romantic campfire imagery, it perfectly illustrates exactly where our folklore gets it entirely wrong. We all know the classic caveman myth, right? A brave prehistoric human finds a litter of helpless wolf pups, takes them home, raises them with love, and trains them to be these loyal hunting companions. It's a beautiful, heartwarming idea. But actually, it's completely at odds with biological reality. Here's the harsh truth. Adult wolves retain their dangerous, wild instincts. You just cannot tame an apex predator through sheer force of will. If you raise a wolf pup from birth with all the love and food in the world, it is still fundamentally a wild wolf. Zoos and wildlife sanctuaries have known this for centuries. The idea that some ancient human just decided to tame wolves by actively commanding them is exactly the kind of thinking that gets people bitten. Moving on to Section 2, Survival of the Friendliest. So if we didn't intentionally command and domesticate wolves, what actually happened? Well, the leading biologically supported theory points to something a lot less glamorous. Our garbage. Seriously. Step 1. As early humans got better at hunting and setting up camps, we started generating consistent, reliable garbage. Leftover bones, scraps, that kind of thing. Step 2. Opportunistic scavengers took notice. But here's the catch. It wasn't the big, aggressive alpha wolves. They were terrified of us. They wanted absolutely nothing to do with humans. Instead, it was the calmer, slightly less fearful wolves that edged closer to our fires to scavenge the scraps. And finally, step 3. These friendly wolves ate well, survived longer, and ultimately out-reproduced the aggressive ones. It was this chaotic, completely accidental process of natural selection. The wolves with the lowest stress response just thrived on our discarded bones without getting speared. Which brings us to Section 3, the science of tameness. To really prove just how incredibly fast this evolutionary shift can happen, we have to look at one of the most underrated science experiments of the 20th century. Back in the 1950s, a Soviet geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev ran this covert experiment breeding silver foxes. And he only selected for one single trait. Just one. Tameness. He only bred the foxes that showed the absolute least fear and aggression toward humans. And what he discovered is this mind-blowing concept known as domestication syndrome. This is a biological phenomenon where selecting a species purely for tameness inadvertently unlocks an entire cascade of totally unexpected physical and developmental changes. It is a bizarre biological package deal that absolutely shocked the scientific community. I mean, just look at the specific physical changes Belyev's foxes developed in merely a few decades. Remember, nobody told the fox's genetics to do this. Just by breeding for friendliness, these foxes suddenly developed floppy ears, curled tails, and these random patches of white and brown in their coats instead of their natural solid silver. Their faces got rounder, their actual skull shapes changed, and even their reproductive cycles shifted. They even started barking differently and actively seeking out human attention, wagging their tails. This proved definitively that selecting purely for a calm demeanor fundamentally rewires a mammal's biology. It gives scientists a massive clue as to how those ancient wolves hanging around our camps transformed so rapidly. Let's look at Section 4, Rewiring the Mammalian Brain. But of course, this incredible evolution wasn't just a one-way street. As humans and dogs co-evolved, dogs became cognitively distinct from wolves in ways that are frankly astonishing. Just consider the stark difference in eye contact. In wild wolf society, direct eye contact, that is a dominance challenge. It basically means a fight is about to go down. But dogs evolved to hold your gaze, to look to you for information, and when they do, both of your brains release oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone. That is the exact same hormone released between a human mother and her infant. Think about that. A carnivore that historically should want to eat us has been genetically rewired to chemically bond with us. Plus, unlike wolves, dogs intuitively understand human pointing gestures right from birth. They are born reading our communicative cues. Oh, and it gets even wilder. Dogs literally evolved a specialized facial muscle above their eyebrows that wolves completely lack. It's called the levator anguli oculi medialis, and this tiny little muscle is entirely responsible for the famous puppy dog eyes expression. Why did it evolve? Simply because it works on us. It makes their faces look soft and just unbearably cute, essentially tricking our brains into wanting to care for them. The dog knowingly, or rather unknowingly, evolved a biological hack to manipulate human emotions. You might sit there thinking you chose your dog, but really, your dog's ancestors spent 10,000 years evolving specifically to make you want to choose them. All right, final part, Section 5, the modern dog explosion. So once humans realized just how incredibly useful these semi-tamed wolves were, human-directed breeding grabbed the wheel and pushed canine evolution into absolute hyperdrive. The trajectory of this relationship was astonishingly fast. Between 15 and 40,000 years ago, wolves started approaching our campfires. By 10,000 years ago, humans were already intentionally burying dogs alongside their own dead. That shows a genuine emotional bond and companionship, not just using them as tools. But it was really in the 19th century, during the Victorian era, that strict breed standards were created. And that specific obsession is what spawned the massive, crazy variety of modern breeds we see today. The sheer speed of this diversification is completely unmatched in the animal kingdom. The human breeding project essentially dismantled the sleek, highly functional wolf body plan that took millions of years to naturally evolve. We took that and turned it into highly specific working breeds for hunting, herding, and guarding, as well as purely aesthetic lapdogs for aristocrats. In a literal blink of evolutionary time, humans exploited the canine genome to produce everything from a lightning-fast racing greyhound to a bulldog shaped like a sad loaf of bread. Which brings us to the hilariously absurd modern reality of the human-dog relationship. $40. Right now, today, someone is happily spending $40 on artisanal, grain-free, wild-caught salmon dog food for an animal that, let's be honest, is perfectly content eating a dirty sock it found on the living room floor. We literally spend more on pet care than many nations spend on education. Our dogs live inside our homes, they sleep in our beds, and neurologically speaking, our brains treat them exactly like human family members. And this leads us to a truly profound co-evolutionary truth. We didn't just create dogs. Dogs helped create us. In fact, there is a very serious scientific argument out there that the domestication of dogs was a primary driver of human evolutionary success. By acting as living alarm systems at night and highly efficient hunting partners during the day, they freed up human mental bandwidth and precious resources. They literally allowed early human populations to expand into harsh, unforgiving new environments all across the globe. Without the dog by our side, the entire trajectory of human civilization itself could have looked entirely different. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If 15,000 years of chaotic, completely accidental evolution managed to turn a terrifying, wild predator into a beloved family member that's probably sleeping at the foot of your bed right now, how are we unknowingly rewiring the biological future of the animals around us today? Really makes you look at that ancient 15,000-year bond currently drooling on your carpet in a whole new light, doesn't it? Thanks for joining me on today's Explainer. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you.